Anuj, I had not broadcasted yet, so I just clicked on broadcast. Now the attendees will be able to join.
Okay, cool.
And I'm switching off my video.
Oh, that's fine. So hi all, welcome to the third edition of the webinar series. I'll just wait for a couple of minutes just to allow other people to join in as well, and so that we can start after that. Yes, so hi all, without wasting too much of time, very excited to see that we are in the third edition of the webinar series Celebrating Entrepreneurship in COVID-19 times. And before we begin our session, I would like to thank our supporting partner, SBI Foundation, which is a premier CSR institution in India, has been working at grassroots levels towards improving the socioeconomic well-being of the society, particularly in the less fortunate and underprivileged members, and enabling them to live up to the potential that they all possess. And SBI Foundation are focused on creating inclusive development paradigms that serve all Indians and to deliver societal benefits to all geographical regions of the country without any barriers. And they have one of the most extensive reach across the country in nooks and corners. And we are also very fortunate to have our knowledge partner as Center for Social Entrepreneurship, Tata Institute of Social Sciences, which provides an innovative master's program, social entrepreneurship, and have an incubation center, the first of its kind in India in academic institution to support social entrepreneurship, and is an inbuilt adaptation of master's program where students immediately after graduation get guidance, mentorship, physical space, network for funding and value-based collaborations. And a quick brief about us. Alsisar Impact has been furthering the cause of impact investing in social enterprise ecosystem in South Asia with our transformative catalyst role for the past 12 years. And we are a focused team of investment banking, legal, finance, regulatory, structuring, and sustainability team professionals. And we have worked with 70 plus impact investors, 600 plus social enterprise in varied geographies, more than 10 countries. And social enterprises, especially in conflict zones, create a multiplier effect on positive outcomes for the citizens in the region. We have worked with multiple entrepreneurs who work in conflict zones across multiple geographies, having many inspiring stories to relate. And we are very fortunate to have some of the people here as well. And with this specific thing, I would like to grateful to have with us Mrs. Manjula, Managing Director, SBI Foundation, to open up the specific thing with her remarks. Ma'am, please.
Yeah, thank you, Anuj. SBI Foundation is very happy to co-host this series of webinars on celebrating entrepreneurship. I like the word celebrate because this is the time where we actually need to celebrate the little things. And who better than the entrepreneurs and the social entrepreneurs as such. And we do have a very good panel today, led by Professor Satyajit Majumdar and two very upcoming and people who have made a great impact, Abid and Navjot. I'm sure that the participants and the viewers will be very happy to listen to all of you. SBI Foundation tries to create an impact in all the areas that we are. We have several flagship projects. One is the Youth for India Fellows, and the second is the Gram Seva project, where we have adopted about 50 villages across India, where we try to make a full holistic improvement of the residents of those villages. We also have one center of excellence for persons with disabilities, where we try to make conduct training sessions for them and how to cope in these times. Especially, we are conducting a series of webinars for them. We also participate in several think tanks and roundtables and conferences to make some policy changes to make their lives better. And as for Youth for India Fellowship, every year we take about 100 youth, and they go to different villages across India, and they identify what is required by that particular community and try to come up with a solution for that. So I'm sure many of our youth YFI fellows are joining in and listening to you, and hopeful and that they will be inspired by your stories. And so thank you, and over to you, Anuj.
Thanks, Pam. So I will quickly deep dive to Professor Satyajit Majumdar to take the proceedings further, sir. Sir, please.
Thank you, Anuj, and feeling very happy to engage in this conversation with two young social entrepreneurs, Navjot and Abid. Basically, this session is about entrepreneurship in a context. Basically, entrepreneurship itself is very contextual. And context, when we say context, it refers to circumstances, conditions, situation, environment. So everything which is external phenomena, which an entrepreneur kind of decode, understand how the things could be. And certainly those phenomena are outside their control. And sometimes we attribute success and failures to them, but that's not entrepreneurship actually. So, but entrepreneurs actually search and find some meaning in the context. They try to find out opportunities in the context. And of course, as context sometimes becomes constraining, they set boundaries also. But interestingly, the boundaries in terms of family, friends, geography, geopolitical environment, institutional context, they also provide different meaning to the entrepreneurs. And that's what basically the new way of understanding entrepreneurship emerges. So it's important that when we talk about context, so today we are going to discuss conflict as a context, and we are trying to understand from these two young social entrepreneurs that how they derived meaning out of it. And when you say meaning, it's not that they remain silent. They derive something which can be done. They looked at the whole geopolitical environment, regulatory environment, even socio-political environment, and try to devise something which becomes an entrepreneurial opportunity. So you will see that through their story, I'm sure we will have some greater understanding how they created opportunity for themselves, and sometimes they influence the context. It's not that they become subordinate to context, but sometimes they influence the context. I think these are some of the interesting perspectives we will have during this conversation. And I'm really feeling happy to have Abid Rashid Loan, who co-founded an organization called Fast Beaten, which is a hyper local in Srinagar. He also associates with different part of Kashmir, probably Kupwara, Baramulla, Anantnag, etc. And we'll listen more about his way of engagement, his story of social enterprise. We also have from UK, London, very specific, Navjot Sani, the founder of the Washing Machine Project. He's working in different parts, and of course, he works in different countries. And of course, the recent one, which I came to know, is in Jordan. under the support from UN and Oxfam. And recently, he also featured in BBC. So it's very interesting to have two young social entrepreneurs and see them really actively engaging despite the COVID constraints. So I was trying to understand what is common among them. Of course, I was not searching commonalities. I was searching their stories, the interesting story of enterprise creation and entrepreneurship. But I found two commonalities. And the one is they did not search for market or customers, which we typically think in entrepreneurship that entrepreneur have to do big market understanding, big market search. So they didn't do that. Rather, they went into some difficulty, some terrain which is normally ignored because everybody thinks that it's a difficult terrain. Let us refrain from getting into those kind of places. So they got into somewhere where we conflict was remaining as context. So they got into conflict as a context and attempted to solve some unique problems. They solved some unique problems. Coincidentally, I found them, both of them are passionate and have great competency for and in engineering and technology. And both of work associate very closely with women. So that's the interesting profile I have. So certainly they were courageous enough, if I put it that way. They were courageous enough to experiment. They were courageous enough to engage and trying to find out something which is seemingly sustainable. And they are on their way to entrepreneurial journey, which we will try to understand. So it's very, very important. It's a very exciting time for me this afternoon. And I feel really fortunate to have a conversation with the two young entrepreneurs who I call it as are engaged in proving their points. So they are trying to communicate something. They're trying to say something which is doable, and they are trying to do something which is actually unusual. So they're not basically trying to do something which is routine. They're not getting to the easy thing. They are getting into the difficult thing, seemingly difficult thing. But they're converting difficulty into opportunity. So since they are breaking the rule of difficulty, I'm also breaking the rule of this session of formally introducing them. So you must have noticed that we don't have any formal introduction about the speakers because I believe all of us can deep dive into what they say, and we need to listen to every word they speak. We need to listen to every sentence they speak, and we'll have a lot to think about, and we'll also have to immerse in their words and their conviction. So certainly the words, few sentences or few words are not good enough to introduce them. And that's why I thought that there is no meaning in getting into the formal introduction. Rather, we engage with them. We have a conversation with them and we can ask questions. So this session will be more a conversation with these two young social entrepreneurs. And in the background, I have my colleague, Mr. Sujay Dixit, who is the Senior Program Manager and heads our Incubation Center and outreach programs at Tata Institute of Social Sciences. My colleague Sujay will keep track of the questions. So I request all of you to kindly activate your question and answer box, not the chat box, Q&A box. So you will see a Q&A box. So please post your question on Q&A box. And during the conversation and during this entire session of 90 minutes, we'll take up as many questions as we can. And we can really put them together for something which is meaningful for the common learning. So welcome Navjot and Abid, and really we feel happy to have you in this session. So I think my first question will be to Navjot. So basically, when I was reading your profile and I was in conversation with you earlier, I was reminding myself about the popular phrase "connecting dots" by Steve Jobs. When somebody asked him, "How can you be so creative?" and he said, "Oh, I confess that I'm not creative, but we know what kind of work Steve Jobs did, and all of us understand his great work." Okay, so he said, "I was just connecting dots." So and he narrated the whole story, how we did that. So when I see the dots which you try to connect, the woman, personal hygiene, washing with less power, washing with less water, and so on and so forth. Normally, these dots are generally ignored. We don't see these dots. And you try to put it together. And also, we try to put it together something which we call as geopolitical conflict. Conflict doesn't mean that all the time we are in the war situation, but which is conflicting as a society, as a system which is conflicting. And that's the reason, since it's conflicting, and that's why people stay away from that. They don't want to get into this messy complexity. But you get into there, okay? You got into there, and you attempted to do something which creates a value. So we would like to understand your story, brief your story, and your way of connecting the dots, how you did that, and why you did that. Over to you, Navjot.
Wow, what an introduction as well, Satyajit. Thank you very much for the opportunity. Thank you to Anuj and Ms. Manjula as well. So my story is really unconventional when we look at kind of a graduate engineer. You know, when I was a young child, I was a very curious child. I always was obsessed with how things worked all the time. You know, my father, who was an aerospace engineer, used to take me to air shows all the time, and I'd be obsessed with how these big objects were in the sky. You know, and I'd look up and in amazement, and then I would come home, and I'd take the toolbox out of the cupboard, and I'd take apart appliances. And my mum used to get really angry, you know, because I used to break things all the time. But it's that continuous curiosity that kind of helped me later on in life. So studying engineering was a very natural transition for me. And then I was lucky enough to land my dream job at Dyson, a global technology company, innovating some amazing domestic appliances. And then I realized that every bit of good engineering that I'm doing is making a vacuum cleaner or making a domestic appliance that is only going to help middle class people that actually don't really need anything. They have everything in the world, you know. And so about 3 years into the graduate program, I decided to take a sabbatical from my career. And you can imagine, Satyajit, the conversation I had with my mum, coming from an Indian family. She was very unsupportive, you know.
Must be. What this character is doing? Why is not
like
this job? Yeah.
You know, you land this dream job and you're not happy. Why are you happy?
Yes. Yes.
I wanted my engineering to go further for more people, for people that really need it. You know, there's a lot of suffering in the world. So I was lucky enough to be successful in a charity called Engineers Without Borders UK, and I got sent to India, South India, in Tamil Nadu, in Pondicherry.
Yeah.
And I was living in a very rural village called Kulapalayam. And Kulapalayam has limited resource to access to water, limited access to electricity, major blackouts all the time. So, you know, these very simple problems that I take for granted, I could see them very firsthand. And that's my first experience, you know, of really understanding the problem from the first instance. So going into the context, which is what you're referring to begin with. And then I was making clean and efficient cook stoves, you know, so chulas that burn very efficiently in traditional clay stoves. And that really taught me being at the center of the beneficiary's needs. You know, a lady doesn't want her roti to be flat. She wants it to be puffy. You know, it has to be this big pot or this small pot. You know, those kind of beneficiary insights that you have to ask the consumer.
Absolutely.
And then the greatest experience happened to me when I became best friends with my next door neighbor, a lady called Divya. Divya has very simple problems. She doesn't have access to an electric washing machine, so spends hours a day hand washing her clothes. So I promised her a manual washing machine, and that's where the washing machine project started. And you know, I then saw her eyes lit up and saw how much she wanted and needed technology like this. And so I did the research, and there was a gap. So, you know, there is no one in the world today looking at a manual washing machine for people like Divya.
Yeah.
They are only developing washing machines for rich people in Europe, the US, people who go camping,
Yeah.
people who live in camper vans,
Yeah.
people who are choosing to live off the grid and become more sustainable. So
Right.
all of those dots added up to the overall solution that we're trying to
Right.
create.
Right. Excellent. Excellent. So we'll listen to your story a little bit more. The more dots. Okay. More deeper
Yeah,
dots.
exactly.
I would say. Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. So, Abid, I have been sort of looking at your profile also, and I believe, unfortunately, or coincidentally, if I put it that way, uh, the conflict came to you very natural way because you belong to conflict region for various reasons, and also the good thing which I saw about you is. You have not you have, if I put quote unquote, not complained about the conflict. You say, okay, let us do something about it, kind of thing. Okay, so some doer perspective, and which is very entrepreneurial. So entrepreneurs are very courageous, and that's why I always use the word entrepreneurs are courageous people. Okay, they have a courage to stand up and say, guys, this is not done, something has to be done. Okay, and you did that, and that in fact, in my opinion, is entrepreneurial, and that's what entrepreneurs do, and that's what probably we can differentiate entrepreneurs, those who are entrepreneurs and those who are not. So I would be sort of interested to know from you your story, and of course what also interests me is your name, the fast beetle. Okay, how you got the fast beetle? Because we always connect beetle. All of us know where we connect with beetle. So if you can also, just my curiosity, can tell us how you get the name fast beetle, and also tell
Basically,
how you got there. Okay, yeah.
basically, I have always loved the Beatles, the colors, those small dots.
Yeah.
We're going again to the dots basically.
Yes,
So
yes.
basically, the has small dots. So
Fantastic.
basically, I have always loved the beetle part, the insect, and the
Yeah.
colors of it.
Yeah.
So me and my co-founder, we wanted to, since you said that the conflict came naturally to us,
Yeah.
we would basically see. So for example, I remember in my childhood, we would walk and there would be shops, they would shut within
Yeah.
1 second.
Yes.
Like they're open at 2 and
Yeah.
they're at 3, they're shut.
Yeah.
So I have been living in a conflict from a very long time.
Yeah.
And then the COVID came up and it was an cherry on the cake.
Yeah.
But yes, so but once we saw that, like, the conflict, what conflict does to a human, we
Yeah.
thought, if there is a guy who is shutting his shop
Yeah.
and he's helpless, he's not able to do anything, why
Absolutely.
don't we do something? So even if he shuts his shop,
Yeah.
we can take his product and deliver to the consumer. So
Fantastic.
so that was one dot.
Yeah.
Another dot was my mother is basically an artisan. She does a paper mache.
Oh,
So
excellent.
I used to see her make different designs, and couple of times I saw many people doing things, and due to conflict they were not able to sell their stuff, and they
Right.
would say, oh, we have made this, and they were beautiful, actually
Yeah.
marvelous, but
Yeah.
we don't have a seller, we don't know.
Correct.
So then the internet boom came. I was working in Dubai. I have also worked on different social enterprises, mainly over the technology.
Yeah.
So what we did is we thought, now we have an internet boom.
Yeah.
Why don't we leverage this internet boom and solve the issues, like the shop is shutting, let us deliver. Even if he's shutting, we'll do it. If there's a woman, she's great, she's an artist, why don't we just take his stuff and deliver directly to the customer? They just
Right.
need to be online on Instagram and other things. So
Right.
all these came, and the beetle was in the mind. We thought, let's just we'll be fast. There are different, so many companies here, like the big companies, they don't look at the artists. They have big, big market. They don't look at that side of the market.
Yeah.
So thought, why don't we do it very fast and efficient way?
Yeah.
And since, for the love of loving the insect,
Yeah.
we made it fast beetle. So we just
Fantastic.
put the color red as well, so that we could match everything.
Fantastic. Fantastic. That's an interesting story. And so
Yeah.
all through, so how much time you spend in your childhood in Jammu and Kashmir? And if you can just tell us the time brackets, because you had international exposure also. So how much time in Jammu and Kashmir, and how much time outside there, and how you connected the outside dots with inside dots? Yeah.
So basically, I think all my childhood have been in Kashmir only.
Yeah.
So I have been, natural to the conflict from the
Yeah.
very start, from the
Yeah.
very beginning.
Yeah.
But when I moved out, I saw a different world.
Yeah.
People doing a lot of stuff on their phones.
Right.
So it made me very curious.
Yeah.
So when I came back, I wanted to use the same thing, same stuff which I have developed. Basically, I love coding. I've made a couple of softwares and many things which would solve the issues.
Yeah.
So one of the projects which we have worked on is like giving an payment transfer facility to the rural India.
Right.
It was even held by Google as well when they
Yeah.
started the women empowerment the initiative. So
Yeah.
I came back from the international from Dubai, and
Yeah.
then I started my journey. I wanted to replicate the same process here, but a bit of change.
Adoption.
Yeah.
Yeah. Fantastic. So now I get into little technicalities of entrepreneurship, and the moment we get into since I'm a teacher and also a mentor to startups, of course researcher as well. So I always have a curiosity of the strategic angle to the enterprise creation, and the first thing which we say, how these guys have looked into the opportunity. Where is the opportunity? Did they do market research? How they did that? Actually, both of you didn't do market research, and that's an amazing story. So what we hear in our MBA classes, actually most of it doesn't apply in entrepreneurship anyway.
Yeah.
So that's not the argument. The argument is I was during my research journey, I was trying to sort of also write something on a strategic entrepreneurial journey, and try to see two kind of typologies. One is opportunity discovery of entrepreneurial action. So basically, the discovery, interestingly, Abid, you discovered an opportunity in the context of Kashmir, okay? And as you correctly said that you had the resources in your mind that why this person is, so there is a resource, there is a material available. So you had the resource in mind, and you were trying to articulate how the resource can go to the market rather than saying, asking what the market needs. So actually you did the other way. You looked at the resources and tried to articulate the market way. And that's very interesting. That's very interesting. So I would say, and I would put it in a little sort of academic terms as entrepreneurial alertness, how the entrepreneurs remain alert, sensitive. Hey, what's going on? Can we do something about it? That impulsive behavior, agitating behavior. Sometimes they become angry also. I'm sure you would have been angry with this certain thing. Navjot would have been angry with several things not happening the way you want. So Abid, I'm interested to know how did you look at discovery of opportunity, because you had resources, but you also have to figure out which is the market, which is the channel. If I put it in very technical sense, which is the supply chain, appropriate supply chain, how would the delivery mechanism would be? So how did you connect them? How do you discover the opportunity, the entire package of opportunity?
So what we did,
please.
So what we did is actually we basically tried to find someone who is getting the market online, who is like a girl who wants to sell online, and she has an Instagram page and what she wants. So I met a couple of them, and I told them like, what is the issue? I mean, I don't see your updates regularly. How is your business going and everything? And I told them how many deliveries they do in a month, or what is the sale. So the only issue which I saw is that they are passionate about work. They want to sell everything. They want to design. They're an artist, but they don't know how to send the stuff to the customer.
Right.
So that's the main problem. So even with these, in Kashmir, the girl would not prefer to leave the house again and again because of a lot of reasons. So when I told them what I am doing is I am going to build something which will make your life easy. So when I told them this is the process, so they were like, their eyes were open. They were like, yes, we want this. We sometimes send our brother or someone else to do the job. If this is done, it will make our life very easy. So we started that, but at first for 2 months we did everything in Excel. So we
Right.
wanted to understand the whole process
Yeah.
from beginning to
Yeah.
the end.
Yeah.
So we studied the whole process, like the
Yeah.
problems they're facing, and
Yeah.
then because I'm from a tech background, I converted the whole solution as in software, a portal
Right.
where
Right.
everything happens all automatically.
Yeah.
So slowly and slowly, it was a bit challenging. Some of our businesses, micro entrepreneurs, they were not ready to give us anything. Some even asked
Absolutely.
for our Aadhaar card. We will take your Aadhaar card because we don't know if you'll give us cash as
Yeah.
well.
Yeah. Of course. So yeah. Yeah.
So then I would get my car. Like
Yeah.
I have a good car. I told them,
Yeah.
yes, I'm in a car, so that at least I can brand them and give them, yes, your money is safe.
Yes. Yes. That's interesting.
So
That's
then
interesting.
we converted it and we gave them the solution.
Yeah. So very algorithm centric way of solving the problem. Fantastic. That's very interesting. So I think I have similar question to Navjot. And I when I was talking to Navjot and reading his profiles and understanding what he does. So Navjot, I probably out of my research interest, I'll put it in the different bucket of opportunity. Not very similar to what Abid did. Maybe I could be wrong, but nevertheless, we can have a scholarly conversation later on. But what I say is actually you have created opportunity. You have not discovered. Nothing came very natural to you. You basically you sensed something. You sensed something. You stayed with in the village. You saw Divya. I think Divya's story is very interesting, very exciting, I would say, and inspiring as well. So and you developed something which is workable. Okay, and of course, I'm sure you would have done the costing stuff. You would have searched around what are the components to fit together. It's very engineering solution which you worked on, and of course. Then putting together, you have reframed the whole package and say that, hi, this is the solution. Okay, why don't you take it? And there could be risk, there could be failures, the product failure or market failure. People are not reluctant to use it, and so on and so forth. There are a lot of things which we talk about. So I would ask you to explain uh, this whole journey of opportunity creation. Okay, so how you perceived it as a process, how you got it, and since I'm again labeling you as a connecting dot kind of thing. Okay, so because it's not very straightforward, it's not very linear. So it's very non-linear, right? You go back to the drawing board, something works, something doesn't work, something people don't like, this woman don't agree, kind of stuff, right? So how you did this? So all this opportunity discovery, okay, opportunity, not discovery, opportunity creation. How we created that opportunity?
Yes, yeah. And whilst Arvid was talking, I was just really relating to some of the things, and I always refer to this as the constant state of jugaad. You know, I'm
Yes.
always trying to jugaad my way through life. You know, and my
Yeah.
entrepreneurial
Yeah.
journey,
Yeah.
and not taking no for an answer, and just trying to navigate our way through
Absolutely.
the path.
Absolutely.
Uh, I call it the constant state of jugaad. So, takeaway on the question is that it's not being afraid of failure.
Right. Yeah.
Because I think quite often um, when people have an idea, it's a really fantastic idea, but they're afraid of executing
Yeah.
because they're afraid that it's going to fall flat. And 9 times out of 10, I'm sorry, it's going to fall flat, but
Yeah.
you're just waiting for that one time for it to work, and that's all it needs.
Right.
And we've really been on a journey like that. So with what we're trying to create, we are going to have to go through many iterations.
Yeah.
There's going to be many failures.
Yeah.
And that's why we take a kind of user-centered approach. If you just look at the logo in the corner
Yeah.
of the screen here, it has
Yeah.
a heart signifying of the beneficiary. The beneficiary is at the heart of everything that we do. We've traveled to 5 countries and interviewed 600 families on their washing habits. How big is your family? How often do you wash clothes? What kind of detergent do you use?
Yeah.
Uh, does it differ from summer to winter? What kind of water do you use?
Yeah.
Those kinds of things. And that feeds us straight into the kind of engineering and development process.
Right.
And you connect another dot.
Perfect. Yeah, yeah. So I think in both the cases, Abid and Navjot, and I want you to answer, both of you to answer, and maybe we can answer together, okay, and compare each other also, learn from each other also. Both of you actually had the first stakeholder as the community, okay, the people actually, right? And set of people together, and so you were doing something with them and something for them, okay. So not that they are only the recipient of your advantages or services, but they were participating in creating value. In both the cases, that's very evident. Okay, so I'm curious to know, because success of social enterprise, the complexity of success of social enterprise, in my opinion, also resides here. How you connect with the community, how you engage with the community, and not to disrespect the community and saying that we are doing favor to you. I think none of you did favor actually. You
Yeah.
engaged with them, you sat with them, you understood the issues, right? You worked with them. So and that's what I think. You also said that you navigated your way out, and that's what entrepreneurship is. Entrepreneurship is a very straightforward journey. It's never a straightforward journey, and that's why we see innovation, right? A lot of new things happen. So my question to both of you: this whole process of community engagement, and I'm sure sometime the community would have rejected you. I'm sure you would have had several such cases. They said, "You mind your business. Whatever we are doing is fine with me," right? Not that community didn't want it, but community has not developed enough confidence. Of course, Abid briefly talked about it, right? So I'm curious to know, because that's the premise of social enterprise, how you engage with people, right? And don't treat them only as a recipient of favor, but also engage with them as a participating agency, right? Engage in the value creation process. So how you did that, the community engagement? Yeah, Abid and Navjot, I leave it to both of you to decide who will speak first, or would you like to speak together? That's fine.
Yeah, I can first talk, and then Abid, I'd love to hear your reflections on this. And adoption is really key, right? The worst thing that you'd want is to create something and it's not going to be used.
Yeah,
And what right do I have, someone sitting in my bubble in London, to impose a solution on someone in a refugee camp or in a village? I have no say in this,
yeah,
um, and that's why it should be beneficiary driven. For someone like Divya, her mom, her grandma have been washing this way for
yeah,
hundreds of years.
yeah.
Why would I then come along and tell her this
Yes,
is how you should do it?
yeah,
You know,
yeah,
what right do I have?
yeah, yeah,
Um, so, so from my perspective, it's about creating that solution, um, but also the education piece.
yes, yes,
Forget about the solution.
yeah,
What? Why is the current practice hindering you?
yeah,
When I was making chulas, it was that you were breathing in smoke, you were
yeah,
foraging for wood, you were going further away from your home,
yeah,
and more susceptible to violence.
yeah,
For washing, you'll spend more than 20 hours a week doing this activity,
yeah, yeah,
and you
yeah,
could use this activity, childbearing, uh, uh, having a job, or educating yourself, or
yeah,
nothing of the sort. It causes back pain, skin
yeah,
irritation, joint
yeah,
pain. So
yeah,
it's all well and good creating the solution, but it's the education after the solution, the
right,
kind of mindset change,
yeah,
that's really important. And I'm sure it's the same with Abid as well.
yeah, yeah, yeah. Okay, that's interesting. Abid, your thoughts, the whole
I think,
process of community engagement as
yeah,
a stakeholder, yeah,
I think I agree with Navjot. We need to basically give them a better solution
yeah,
in the way. So,
yeah,
for example, I will quote a practical example. Like, for example, we had uh, majorly we have women entrepreneurs.
yeah,
So, as I said, they would send their brothers, blah blah blah, to do their stuff.
yeah,
But then there was a problem. The problem was there was no reconciliation. They
yeah,
did not know how much money we had, how
yes,
much did we spend, how much did we make.
yeah,
So we, as a community, we talked to them. We told them, use our system. You would come to know how much did you make,
yeah,
profits, everything, so
yeah,
that every your books are clean, so that you could actually generate more business, do
yeah,
more sales, do
yeah,
more marketing. It,
sure,
it took time,
right,
but we gave them a solution so that everything is they were like sitting on the driver's seat.
yeah,
I believe that if you have to make a product, you have to put your customer on the driver's seat so that they can do
absolutely,
everything. So,
absolutely,
we gave them the solution,
yeah,
and with time it happens. I think with time, uh,
yeah, Yeah.
But yes, when we understood there is a better way to do it.
Right.
We can do other stuff. And
Right.
then slowly we agree.
Right. Right.
And it's that
So
element of
yeah, sure,
sorry to interject.
sure. Please,
I was just
please.
saying it's that element of understanding that you can't solve this alone.
Mm.
You need to engage with people, other stakeholders that will help you access better. And as Abid was saying, you engage with the community in that way. What we do at the washing machine project, we engage with agencies, like the UN and Oxfam
Yeah.
and Care International in Iraq.
Yeah.
They have the access.
Yeah.
They have the know-how, the understanding.
Yeah.
They give the aid already.
Yeah.
They have the communication with the community leaders. We call
Yeah.
them muqtas in Iraq.
Yeah.
Where you have to actually get the community leaders buy-in
Right.
to even do work in the
Yeah.
area.
Yeah.
Which is similar in other contexts.
Yeah.
And it's kind of understanding that you cannot do this alone.
Right, right. So, did you face a reverse situation? What I'm trying to ask you is because we work with few tribal communities in the country, and sometimes we observe very interesting phenomena, and we see the communities are repository of knowledge, and sometimes we level them as outdated knowledge. But that's not something I'm referring to. I'm saying that even the community has good practices, community also have knowledge, community also have good traditions. Okay, was there any instance, Navjot, that actually you learned that they have a better practice in terms of solution? What you think you have, probably their solution is better solution. So does it happen, or did it happen ever?
Yeah, it's really interesting that you say that. And it's separate to the washing machine project, but people have a way of fixing things
Yeah.
automatically for their own
Yeah.
benefit. They jugaad the way we jugaad,
Yes. 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 Yes.
And it's the moment of survival.
Yeah. Yeah.
We work with refugees, right? So
Yes.
refugees, they're people like anyone else. They had
Yes.
everything,
Yes. Yes.
and overnight they lost everything.
Absolutely.
And so they want every solution that is afforded to them,
True.
and they want everything that they can. They have so much pride. They
Yeah.
want everything.
Yeah.
And so in some contexts, uh, there's only cold water available. So I would see refugees fill up big water bottles,
Yeah.
put them on top of their houses in the desert, warm the water,
Yeah.
so they can
Yeah.
bathe with it and
Yeah.
things like that.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
it's those kind of innovative solutions
Absolutely.
that work really well. So I immediately, I remember the moment I was in Lebanon on the Syrian border in the Bekaa Valley,
Yeah.
and I went back to my engineering team and I said, they're doing this, and we thought of innovative ways of heating the water whilst it's in the drum,
Absolutely.
and those kinds of things.
Absolutely. And these knowledge is local, very very socially embedded. We call it as social embedded. But these are technologies, right? These are technologies of their own merit. And sometimes there's a lot of value in looking into these kind of solutions. And I'm sure Abid must be seeing every day. Okay, the Kashmir is full of such the minute pieces of technology people put together, and the way it comes as a beautiful product and service. So, Abid, any insight on that? Of course, we know Kashmiri craft; all of us know about it. But any insight, personal insight on this, the local technology or the social technology?
I think yes, there are social technologies who help people sustain. So one of the projects which we actually did in Ramadan just a couple of months back.
Yeah.
We have like farmers here,
Yeah.
and they were trying, like they had a fruit, they were not able to send it to different parts of India.
Yeah.
So what we did is we told them, why don't we do one thing? We sell the same product to all the household locally in Kashmir rather than sending it Delhi because it's locked down.
Yeah.
So they were happy, adaptive, and they agreed straight away. They
Yeah.
said, why not send to our local economy? So
Yeah.
that month we shipped around 10 tons of apple in 20 days.
Excellent.
So when we talk about social, technologies, I see I see many of the micro entrepreneurs who I work with. They
Yeah.
do these jugards.
Yeah.
Some of the micro entrepreneurs, they would tell us, I send the product to Baramulla.
Yeah.
I'm like, how do you send it? It's
Yeah.
strange.
Yeah.
Then when I checked, she used to talk to this local cab rider who was home, and she would give him the package and she would deliver.
Perfect.
We actually adapted some of the things. So
Perfect.
we talked to some of them, and then we also delivered in the same way.
Perfect.
So it's learning both ways.
Perfect. Yeah. That's a micro nano innovations put together creates enormous value, right? And I think in that sense, actually, when you work with a community, community members are themselves entrepreneurs, right? They're actually very entrepreneurial, right? So was there any instance when I'm not using the word conflict here, but the very serious difference of opinion, and you have to resolve it. Okay, I'm not saying challenge again. I'm not using all those expressions. I'm saying there's a difference of opinion. They think this is the way, and you think this is not the way, or there is a better way, probably, right? So how you do that? This negotiation with the community to arrive at something which is doable, something which is valuable for the entire structure. Can you take us one such instance when you resolved it this way, or anyway?
Yes, basically, I will talk about the 10 tons of apple which we did.
Yeah.
Farmers were not ready to go to our portal and do all the stuff.
Yeah.
So we told them this is for your betterment. They said, no, we don't have time.
Yeah.
We will give you boxes, and if they do it, you do it.
Yeah.
What we did that day, we told them, okay, let's go a midway.
Yeah.
You drop your boxes in an like a warehouse.
Yeah.
We will have our guy who would do everything for you guys.
Yeah.
So you do your part, we will also do your part, and together we can make this a success.
Right.
And we basically made it a success in Ramadan.
Absolutely. So here we see a very strong. In fact, I was reading your profile. You have a strong team also. Of course, in the size wise, probably it is in the formative stage. But and there's a question related to that only to you, Abid, on the Q&A box. How do you do the team stuff? Okay, because that's very important for the enterprise growth, venture enterprise growth, right? So how do you manage team? How you select team? How's that the team part of it? The story of team part of it.
I think having a team is a major part. If you don't have a good team, I don't think any enterprise would sustain. So my co-founder, I saw him, like he was doing a job, and I told him that this is the idea, let's do it. So he said that, are you sure? I'm going to leave the job. What do you think? I said, I know it's a problem, we'll solve it.
Yeah.
So my co-founder was more like a jugaad guy. So he would do everything to make the things done.
Yeah.
So me, I myself am a tech guy. So my focus mainly went into solving the problem using technology.
Yeah.
And my other team member, his focus was solving the solution, solving the problem on the road, on the ground, basically. So I think the team is very necessary. We select the people with different expertise so that we make it.
Excellent. Complementary capability. So that collectively we can create a value. Yeah. Navrat, any story from you on the team's front? And of course, I know that you work with volunteers, you work with multiple agencies, you work with multiple countries and multiple agencies. So I'm sure you have a different story about team, and a very, very different macro view about the team. So how you work with the team?
Yeah, it's a really valid point, and I love Abid's story about how you and your co-founder really complement each other. Someone that kind of just has this holistic approach, and then you're the technology guy, so that's really interesting. Yeah, I realized very quickly that it's too big of a problem to solve by myself. There's so many elements. I'm just an engineer. I don't know anything about business or, finances or communications or marketing. I have this set of skills, and I need people that complement me all the time. So a really, really strong core team that we have in kind of marketing, finance, business development, and communications, and we really push that. And in the UK and in Europe, and I'm sure it's the same in India, where we have quite a strong volunteer mentality.
Yeah.
You know, people want to give to a good cause. They
Yeah.
want to give money. They want to give their time, their skills and expertise.
Right.
You know, they want to make the world a better place. They're fed up with their 9 to 5.
Yes.
You know, working on Excel spreadsheets.
Yes.
They want to make a real difference.
Yeah.
And so we offer that. You know, we offer skills and experiences. We offer for people to help directly. And because we're such a small organization, their help has such a huge impact. And they
Yeah.
like that autonomy, you know? And with that, you reach out to some really, really special people. And
Yeah.
so last week, for example, I just had a conversation with a PR guy who works for the government.
Yeah.
And he wants the washing machine project to become the thought leader or the key focus of innovation in refugee camps.
Right.
And he's now going to be pushing that in the UK government for MPs to further push our cause, you know?
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
there's different avenues, different connections, and different people that can bring their skills to the organization. And it's so important because you cannot do it by yourself.
Right. 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 So but it's very interesting how you can create a condition, of course, favorable condition for the government to look into this. Okay. So and since you work with different countries, so so what are the experience in other countries where the government or UN agencies are also involved, as we know? So how it works? How we influence the policymakers or the people who work in the whole regulatory environment? How it works?
Yeah, so I'll give you an example, which is Iraq. Iraq is a really, really difficult environment. More than half of their population is internally displaced.
Yeah.
So if you're from Mumbai, you're probably in Kashmir or something. You've lost everything. You know,
Yeah.
uh, a significant proportion of the population have
Yeah.
gone through the conflict due to Daesh and ISIS, and
Yeah.
they're just
Yeah.
getting back onto their feet.
Yeah.
And then COVID-19 hits. You
Yeah.
know,
Yeah. Yeah.
there's another issue.
Yeah.
Um, for an organization like the Washing Machine Project to go into this country, you need to have a heavy backing or partnership with an established agency.
Yeah.
So like the United Nations or a national organization like
Yeah.
REACH or
Yeah.
Harika. So that was the first and foremost thing that we needed to do. So we put together a prototype, got the invitation letter, and then flew out to Iraq.
Yeah.
And we interviewed refugees. One of the
Yeah.
biggest problems is access to refugee camps. So,
Right.
you know, it's a really interesting process. You have to, every time you go to a refugee camp, you have to meet the camp manager. And it's
Yes.
a very formal process. You have to
Yes.
go in, he
Yes.
has to invite you into the camp.
Yes.
You have to sit in his office or
Yeah.
her office,
Yeah.
and have tea and eat something and talk about your project, and then you're formally invited into the camp.
Yes.
And then you are allowed to
Yes.
conduct your work.
Yes.
But you have to have that introduction.
Very protocol centric. Very protocol centric. Yeah.
Very protocol centric.
Yeah. Yeah.
And also, you know, I take a very personal approach to this, as you can imagine with my conversation. You know, these people, these refugees, these internally displaced people have had many companies, many social enterprises promising them the world.
Yes. Yes.
We can save you water, we can save you effort, we can do this for you, we can do that for you.
Yeah.
So it's about having that sensitivity of, you know, not another person interviewing me and surveying me. You know, I am personally responsible to every single one of those 600 families
Absolutely.
we've interviewed to implement this solution.
Yes. Yes. Certainly.
And I take it upon myself, and I remind my team every day why we are doing this.
Absolutely. That's fantastic. Sujay, I guess there are a few questions on the Q&A box. So would you speak out a few themes, a few questions to Abid and Navjot?
Yes, sir. So there are some 3, 4 questions, and I think all of them are in different zones. So I'll maybe spell out each one of them.
Sure.
Um, First one is would like to ask Navjot about hiring volunteers. How to reach out to multiple potential volunteers and convince them to join your team? Is there a region or country where you get more support for such activities?
Yeah, so really good question, and thank you very much, Sujay. Appreciate that. Um, um, we've been lucky enough to have a really good reach on social media. We've been covered in over 25 international news outlets, and I've been lucky enough to be on the BBC Red Sofa on the news. So the exposure has been really good. But I think the first and foremost thing is telling the story and keeping people engaged. Um, um, we have a lot of support from young people that are looking for experience and want to apply themselves. And we set a kind of job description and an hourly commitment and have regular one-to-ones and a development course for them. And we also conduct academic partnerships. So we have partnered up with Bath University in the UK, and they've provided us 7 interns this summer who have to work 300 hours each for their dissertation for their final year project.
Yeah.
So that's how we partner up with them, and we welcome people to be a part of this organization. We have 21 volunteers so far already, working actively around the clock from all over the world.
Amazing. Amazing.
And how do we keep them motivated? Just a very personal approaches. We have weekly quizzes,
Yeah.
we have newsletters, constant communication. I pay people in samosas,
Yeah.
I
Yeah.
give people
Yeah.
the books that I've
Yeah.
just read, I
Yes.
send
Yes.
them out t-shirts
Yeah.
and it's the movement, we're
Yeah.
trying to create a change. It's
Absolutely.
70% of the world's population who
Yeah.
don't have electric washing machines.
Yeah.
One organization cannot solve this problem. It has to
Absolutely.
be a movement.
Absolutely. So we can take probably one more question.
Yeah.
One more theme.
So the next one in the line is for Abid. What could be the other areas one could work on in Jammu and Kashmir from an entrepreneurial perspective?
I
That's a good
think
question. Good
That's
question.
a really
I
good question.
think the market is virgin, because no big companies come here because of the conflict. Big companies. So even for example us, we it took us time to reach to Baramulla or other districts. So I think they could start in any town or district for the work, because no one is able to reach. Even Amazon, Flipkart, or any other one, they are not able to reach those cities, towns.
Okay.
Abid, is there a need for washing machines?
I'm sure there
That's
is
it.
I
lot of
I
washing
think
machines.
Yeah, that's entrepreneurship. That's entrepreneurship.
yeah,
Yeah. Yeah.
I would love to come and see you out in Kashmir. My
sure, for
my
sure.
my mother, when she got married, she went on a honeymoon in Kashmir, and she always talks about it so fondly, And so I've never been, and I'd love to come and see
Yeah.
it.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
Sir,
Get
if
the
you may
invitation.
permit, Sir, if you may permit,
Yeah.
now there is a similar question to you also, and
Okay.
from the same participant, Vasudha call.
Yeah.
Is asking Navjot,
Yeah.
since we've been working with refugees, is there a possibility of maybe starting a venture related to refugee rehabilitation in their former places or somewhere new?
Right. Okay.
Amazing question,
Yeah.
and
Yeah.
this is something that comes up all the time. It's called the Livelihood Project.
Mm.
And so with the UNHCR, so the United Nations Refugee Arm in Jordan, we are looking at um, um, empowering refugees by assembling or manufacturing our washing machines locally. So
Yes.
that would be an amazing aspect, right?
Absolutely.
They create the washing machine, they use it, and
Yeah.
they sell it on. That's one aspect. The second aspect is agencies that we talk to are very interested in creating livelihood projects in the terms of laundry. So
Yes. Yes.
women can buy this. For us as engineers, we can make this bigger,
Yeah.
and it'll be very easy.
Yeah.
So for someone using our washing machine and creating a kind of small business out of this is something that we're definitely looking at. And we'd love to try that out in India in our kind of next steps.
Absolutely. So, Navjot, in addition to stove, you've also had some projects in refrigeration, right? Can you let us know something about that?
Yeah, so the washing machine project doesn't want to just stop at washing machines. There's other
Yeah,
things in the
yeah,
world today that
yeah,
are problematic, and
yeah, yeah,
we're lucky enough to have the skills and expertise to solve some of those problems.
yeah,
So we want to become an innovation
yeah,
enterprise
yeah.
for the developing world. You know,
Correct, correct.
there are enough cars in the
Yeah,
world. You
yeah,
don't need any more cars.
yeah, yeah.
Uh,
Absolutely.
Divya used to complain about not being able to refrigerate her food because of frequent power cuts. So
Yeah.
just a couple of months ago, I registered the refrigeration project.
Wow.
Uh, looking at off-the-grid refrigeration systems,
Right.
better cooking solutions, better washing solutions.
Absolutely.
You know,
Absolutely.
as COVID-19 spreads across the world, we need more people to keep clean. So how do we keep clean with less water?
Right.
Those kinds of
Right.
interesting
Right.
problems.
Yeah, that's very interesting. That's very interesting story about the kind of proposition you are bringing. I'll call it more as a proposition. And it's a business proposition. It's a business proposition, and it's not that you are doing a favor to somebody about making the product affordable to them, or maybe cheaper version. You're not doing that. You're designing a product for them. Okay, and it's a very engineering design. It's not a compromise design. It's a very engineering design. I think that's why probably I'll put in the bracket of opportunity creation rather than.
Yeah.
Okay, so basically, it's very important for us to understand that when we say refrigerator, when we say washing machine, these are the products a typical middle class family should own it. Okay, and we attach a lot of cheaper version versus the premium version and those kind of things. So I think it's what I find interesting in your story is you're not putting anything in the bracket of affordability, cheap, etc., etc. You're saying this is a product for this kind of user
Yeah.
profile. This is the kind of
Yeah.
product, these kind of families, this kind of women, okay, this kind of consumers, etc., etc. So I think. And I'm sure Abid would also have some thought about it. There could be some local solutions on that. Okay, so when we say this consumer good, okay, and I'm not using it from the marketing genre. I'm saying something which we can use it for making our life better. Okay, so when we look at this as a proposition, this as a phenomena, okay, do you think, and my question is very technical at this point of time, and what we do in the classroom, we ask the students to write a business plan. I think the first mistake most of the teaching institute do, it could probably, I also do that, we ask students to write a business plan. And then we write a business plan, adding few zeros and removing few zeros, right? So and that's what business plan is all about, Excel sheet, right? And the reality is very different, okay? And so I'm saying now, do you want to write a full-blown business plan? Okay, now you know what it is, right? And of course, Abid can also add to that phenomena, maybe for a different product, different market. But nevertheless, do you think that you're ready for writing a business plan, full-blown business plan?
Yeah, I'll take this one, Avid, and I'd love to hear your thoughts as well. So in the UK, we are registered as a social enterprise, which means we are a for-profit company, but we invest 51% legally back into the company. That's a given. So we do. We're not a not-for-profit organization, but we have a social cause. That's something that's very important to consider at the start of this question. And the important thing to understand is that if we want to impact many people, we want high impact, and we want to sell 65,000 washing machines in the next 3 years.
Perfect.
That requires a lot of business acumen and formal planning.
Absolutely.
And so you can imagine, as an engineer with no skill in business, this has been quite a steep learning curve. So you know, we've been going since the end of 2018. Big changes in 2019.
Yeah.
And over the last 9 months or so, we've developed our business plan and our strategy of
Yeah.
which countries we want to go into next.
Yeah.
We've identified 5 different countries we want to go into next.
Yeah.
And to sell this en masse, we need that kind of formal structure, and we have all of those in place. And the beautiful thing about entrepreneurship and social enterprises in particular is that it's a really niche balance. You have
Yeah.
people that want to make the world a better place
Yeah.
for the good, and they're willing to help you. And conversations just like this have inspired me and given me ideas in how to better proceed. And so reaching out to different people and helping
Right.
each other is
Yeah.
a real help.
Right. Great. Abid, any thoughts on this? The business plan, business
Yeah,
planning and business plan. Yeah.
I think as we started our journey, we had different numbers in our mind. We did not know how things were. But since our business is focused towards the livelihood of 300 micro entrepreneurs, for us, it is, I think, very mandatory to make a plan for a growth, reach to the places where we are not, like other cities which are not touched or which needs same kind as which we're doing in the city and other places. I think we are at a stage where we can probably write numbers, but move ahead.
Yeah. And did you find sorry, just very quickly, I was just saying, did you find in your first instance that you were kind of over egging or overestimating your numbers, and really looking at this from a very optimistic point of view?
We were basically underestimating us. The numbers which we had actually, to our surprise, they were less than what we actually did. So it was quite more motivational for us as well, because we were not expecting these numbers.
And so we've done various pitches, and we've spoken to various investors and things like that, and we're cautious about that because we don't want to present a like too good to be true kind of organization.
Yeah.
So we really underestimate our numbers.
Yes. Yes.
Correct.
And some of the conversations that I've had were like, but how you like, surely you can sell more than these,
Yeah.
and we're like, yeah, we can, but we're scared of presenting the numbers
Yeah.
too good to be true.
True. Yeah, that's interesting. So I'm just open the question answer box, and I have an interesting question. Of course, the person has not written the name; it's anonymous question, but certainly very interesting question. There are two parts of the question which actually excites me to put forth before both of you. So when we say conflict zone, okay, so we think that everything is very volatile, okay, everything is very fuzzy, okay. It could exist, it could not exist. Okay, so do you see any sustainability issue from the enterprise point of view? Of course, probably people would need different solutions. People would find out. So this is a question to both of you. Any sustainability issue, or if I don't put it as a sustainability issue, I think any sustainability question before you as an enterprise.
Yeah. Okay, I'll go ahead with this one. So.
Sure.
Very recent example was in Iraq. I went just in February.
Yeah.
At the time, I don't know, it seems like a lifetime ago, but this was at the time where Iran and Iraq and the US were having a proxy war.
Yeah.
The US just killed one of the kind of Iran's senior military in Iraq. Iran shot down one of their own planes from out of the sky.
Yeah.
And there was this kind of real difficult conflict happening,
Tension.
very
Yeah.
live.
Yeah.
And I was there.
Mm.
The agencies weren't allowed to move around.
Mm.
Governments blocked the access from federal Iraq and Kurdistan.
Yeah.
And so that presents a real issue to sustainability. How do you conduct your work without being on the ground?
Okay.
And you navigate that through how we're doing right now. And I think
Yes.
COVID-19 has really kind of accelerated or fast forwarded that
Yes.
track of remote sustainability and impacting
Yeah.
people in a way that is possible. So we are now monitoring and evaluating the impact of our washing machines in Mosul in Iraq through phone and webinars. So the beneficiaries would take pictures, take videos, and fill out an online sheet and feedback to us. It's a bit more difficult, but it's effective with the scenario that we have.
Okay, so Abid, any thoughts on the sustainability, sustainability of enterprise, of course?
Yes, basically, I think I'll narrate a story. Last year, I'm not sure if everyone knows there that we had a instant lockdown that happened last year in August. So everything was shut. So it was very disheartening actually to see, because our numbers were positive, we were doing good, everything was shut. So at times, yes, sustainability is kind of, it's risky. But what motivated us, that our micro entrepreneurs, they would call us and they would regularly call us every day and tell us, don't shut.
Right.
So that was the main reason we did not shut. They call us. So even one of our micro entrepreneurs called us, said, if you need money,
yeah,
I have some savings.
Right.
So I'll pay you guys for 6 months, but don't shut, because my daily living, everything is basically because of you. And if you're shut, I don't know what will I do for me and my family. So sustainability, it's a bit risky, but how looking at the names you have done, the work you have done, there are people who tell you that because of you, we are earning, we're living our daily lives.
Yeah.
So I think that sustainability side, we take it aside and focus more on the goal.
Right. So Abid, there is one more question from Owais Manzoor, and the question is, do you see with the current pandemic, people are encouraged for more home deliveries? Is this the way to encourage people, and how are you helping to make this happen? Something very related, yeah.
Yes, last year when we shut because of our lockdown here for a couple of months, COVID basically helped us recover everything. Right. So I think it was a blessing in disguise for us to recover all that what we had lost last year. Yes.
Yeah.
And we have done phenomenally great since the COVID started. People started more home deliveries, buying online.
Yeah.
I've also read that it's, from a kind of women empowerment perspective, having access to kind of sanitary pads and hygiene products is really important. And most shops and organizations are shut in the area, so you connecting products to the people is really important during this time. So it's really good effort.
We delivered medicines, the essential stuff during COVID, doctors or the patients, stuff as well.
Right. So before I get into my next point, Sujay, do you have any questions or any themes or any question in your mind? You can also ask your questions.
No, but before I come to either Nav or Abid, sir, interestingly, there is a question for you in the question answer box.
Oh, really? Okay.
It says, this is the question to Professor Satyajit, sir. Are you interacting with a lot of social entrepreneurs?
Yeah.
Which quality or skill is the most important one for them?
Okay.
For me to read out a question to you than the panelists, but nevertheless.
Okay. So this is the first time I have been moderating sessions. This is the first time somebody is asking question to the moderator. Okay.
Amazing.
Okay.
Amazing.
Yes, good experience. So that demonstrates the audience is active.
Yeah, absolutely.
So first thing is I don't see some special characteristics of a social entrepreneur needed. I think the fundamental human characteristic is good. Humane behavior. Okay, understanding people as people. Okay, don't think that they are different. I think the first thing is be human. Okay, be human, just like your neighbor, just like your family, but just like a friend, and then try to understand what is the situation. Okay, so that's, I think, is the very fundamental reason. And second thing is, when we say we are there, we are not. I disagree that we are doing any favor, and that's the thing I was asking to now also. we're not doing any favor. Okay, we are working with them. Okay, and we are working not that they invited us or they demanded from us. We are working with them because we love to work with them. We love. Okay, so that sense of love, and that takes you deep into immersion. I think the stories with Abid and Love are explaining. They got there. Okay, they are there with the people. Okay, so this people centricity, immersion, and I think then the black box of opportunity opens up. And as both of them are saying, is a limitless opportunity. Abhi does say the entire market is just there. Okay, go and do it, go and do it, kind of thing. So this opening of the market, opening up the opportunity happens because you deep dive into that. So more you go deep, more it opens up. I think this attitude for deep diving, attitude for what we use, so we are doing a lot of programs on immersion. I think maybe the technical word is immersion. So this attitude for immersion, okay, without getting any preconceived solution, without getting into preconceived idea that I'm the best solution and I'll tell you the best solution. I think without getting into that, I'm here to understand you. Okay, I'm here to work with you. I'm here to befriend you. I'm here to eat with you. Okay, I'm here to stay with you because of my genuine interest in sort of understanding you. I think this is a simple, friendly discussion. I think this friendly space, being a friend, is something I believe is very fundamental in social entrepreneurship. The rest of it follows. I think one can learn through Google, one can learn through Excel, and one can do several things. We can find out partners. There are technology partners. We can integrate with them. So we can hire people, and then we can create team. Both of them are very deeply engaged with the team, with the help of volunteers, etc. I think those things are doable. Those things are very manageable. I think what is critical is be with the people. I think people centricity is, I think, and that's a more attitude question. That's a very attitudinal thing. Okay, I think that's the fundamental thing which is needed for social entrepreneurs. And again, I would say not to go with any doing a favor kind of syndrome. So don't claim that we are here to do favor for the people. I think,
or like a holier than thou attitude, right?
yeah, that's a bad attitude, and I
Yeah.
disagree with that. Nobody does any favor to anybody. Yeah, so
Exactly.
we are living in our own world, and we work together because we love to work together. As simple as that.
Exactly.
We are not doing any favor to anyone.
Amen.
So any question
Yeah.
to
So there are a couple of questions which
Yeah.
have kind of clubbed together, and the questions both for Nav only.
Yeah.
So Nav, the question is, how do you go about getting access to and participation from global organizations such as UN, Oxfam, etc.
Yeah.
And what is a good approach to pitch to these organizations, because it is usually very difficult to get access to any such organization unless you have somebody on the inside who can grant you that access. I mean, somebody who is willing who knows your project and is willing to lend you an ear. Till the time you don't have anybody like that, how do you really go about getting participation from these global organizations?
Yeah, no, it's a really valid point, and thank you, Sujay, for asking this question on behalf of the audience. Uh, Something that resonated with me with what the prof has just said, which was you need to be a friend, um, um, and from the very beginning of my entrepreneurial and my humanitarian journey, I understood very quickly that I don't have the skills or expertise to do this. So I sought formal education. I took up and I'm currently doing a master's in humanitarianism, conflict, and development.
Right. Lovely.
Because I identified this is the space that I want to go into, so I need to formally learn about this. And that was the best decision I've ever made for a number of reasons. And one of them was because I was connected to so many people within the industry. So people working for the UN, for the Red Cross, for Save the Children, for Oxfam, people who are in the private sector working on impact, people in the public sector, government, agency. And so how it happened was I just kept talking about it. I kept talking about it to whoever listened and whoever was interested. And what happened then was I just got an invite from one of my friends who's working at Care International in Iraq, packed up my bags, took my prototype, no plan really, and then interviewed 79 families in 5 refugee camps. Oxfam then heard about it. that there's this interesting innovation in refugee camps, and then the rest is history. Oxfam seed funded us with 50
Yeah.
50 washing machines. They publicized us. We were on the BBC, and
Yeah.
then now onto the UN in Jordan.
Yeah.
So it's all through that. I really attribute to that one contact
Yeah.
who invited us out, you know,
Absolutely.
and just saying, hey, I have this idea. Can we talk for 15, 20
Yeah.
minutes
Yeah.
and see, you know, what are the chances of making this work? And I continuously have these conversations all the time.
Yeah. Yeah. So I think those of us, particularly in the academics, who have read the effectuation theory of entrepreneurship, this phenomena we call it as a corridor principle. Corridor principle is you don't know how many doors exist in the corridor. You'll have to open the first door, then you see the next door. The moment you open the next door, then you see the third and fourth and fifth. Okay, so doors do open. Okay,
Yeah.
the effort to open the first door, or I would say the courage, the conviction, the belief, the effort, right? That's very fundamental to open the first door, and then the corridor works. And that's what entrepreneurial corridor principle, which works in most of the cases, and most of the entrepreneurs have. And sometimes you see digression also, and I'm talking digression in the right sense. People do navigate to different problem space, okay, because they feel there's a corridor there, and then it has to be done because the ownership of the problem is very fundamental. So I'm sure Abid would have seen many such instances because Abid belonged to that group of people, right? You have been living there, and I'm sure you don't need to do extraordinary effort to open the corridor. So you are there, right? So any such instances where you have seen such corridors opening up?
I think, like we're working with more than 300 macro entrepreneurs. I think each one was a different corridor.
Okay.
So we had to open everyone and tell them.
Okay. So the problem of plenty, yeah.
Yes.
Okay. So can we have one instance which turned out to be a very interesting experience for you?
So, for example, we met a person who would make a woman, basically. She was making creams. So we thought, okay, this girl is making a cream for like a couple of girls. So we pitched her. We said that we can deliver your stuff, this, and that. And when I checked her business for next month, it was 5 lakh rupees for 1 month. So we opened the corridor and something else came up, and we were not expecting. So, and another one, we saw a small shop, like we were not able to enter the shop. We're like, okay, he can give us like 1-2 orders in a month. It would be good for him.
Yeah.
But when we signed up him, he started giving us 35 orders a day. So I think different corridors for different people and different mind.
Excellent. I actually all these stories excite me because I write my research pieces on entrepreneur as a strategist. So because that's my strong belief. Because entrepreneurs most of the time we don't talk about entrepreneur as a strategist. We always think that entrepreneur is the creator. Okay, they create something. Okay, but entrepreneur strategize also, and some of the strategies are created out of the context. Okay, and we are referring this context as a conflict. Interestingly, we started with our own conversation with the conflict. But eventually, when we land up now, the kind of discussion we have, we are not talking about conflict. We are talking business. We are talking about the opportunity. We are talking about income, empowerment, okay, welfare. We are talking about that. So actually, the conflict is not a problem. It's an opportunity, right? It's a space all of us should explore, right? Without sitting idle and grumbling. I think both of you actually narrated that story. Okay, and never you said that, oh, what to do with the conflict. Actually, you said, oh, there is a possibility. Okay, so there is a possibility. There is an opportunity. I think that's very entrepreneurial in the conflict situation. So I have a quick question to both of you. I think we have covered about more than an hour. Of course, not more than much more than an hour. So what did you learn from each other? Okay, one learning from each other during this conversation.
From Abid, I was really interested in learning about the creation of Fast Beetle, and how I've read about how the COVID-19 has positively impacted some organizations, but it's really nice and really reassuring to hear for such a good social enterprise, a good enterprise like Fast Beetle and Abid's company. I'm really happy to hear it thrive and prosper in such a really difficult time for so many people, I think. And I think we underestimate how difficult it is
Yeah.
for people during this pandemic. So yeah, I think it's amazing, the story of Fazbeaten.
Okay. So Avid.
Yeah, I would also like to, Joe, that I'm inspired but what he has done and what he's doing, and also talking to each one of you gave a different motivation, and all. I also learned many of the things. So I would like to thank everyone for this conversation and letting us
Okay.
know each other actually.
Okay. Okay.
And I think, just having these conversations, you just feel really fired up, you feel like you want to just go out a full working day again, for me personally. And yeah, so I really enjoy conversations like this because you get fresh perspective,
Yeah.
you get validation, you get, you know, uh, kind of critical evaluation, and that's really important in terms of the social entrepreneurship journey.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah, that's interesting. So I think we are coming close to the session, and maybe I ask you, both of you, we have yet not discussed about your personal journey, and that's what I started the session. I said that deliberately we are keeping formal introduction aside, okay, quote unquote, and we did it successfully probably, and we could discover you. We can discover entrepreneurs within you, both of you. Okay, so now I'm giving you a chance to introduce yourself, maybe a minute each. Okay, so would you like to say something about you, to introduce you as a person? And both of you maybe can do it. Maybe we can start with Abid. So would you like to say something about you?
Uh, I think about myself, I'm passionate about working with people and solving the problems. I think that is the best intro I can say, rather than saying I have done this. So it's mainly the passion and to solve the problems for different, as a society or for macro businesses.
Excellent, excellent.
Yeah.
Navjot? Yeah.
Yeah. So just a very, very, very quick story. My father died when I was actually very young. I was 7 years old at the time, and I've seen firsthand the pain and hardship that women go through um, around the world. um, and so my mother, a very strong woman, bringing up me and my sisters as a lone parent, we are in this country on our own. All of our extended family are in India. So I've seen firsthand the struggles of women, and that's always kind of been my driver and my determination to help alleviate the burden of women around the world. And that's always at the forefront of my mind. And I'm just so glad that I've been given the opportunity to come and talk to you about it today.
Very good, very good. So I think it's a time to close the session. We are coming very close to the closure. We thought that it would be good if we have Sujay on board, as I said before, to kind of sum up the session and help us to understand in next 5 minutes or so, to help us to recapitulate and help us to understand the key takeaways, maybe 5 or 4 or 5, whatever things appropriate. So that we can remind ourselves what did we talk about in last approximately 1.5 hours. Sujay, over to you for summing up, and then we'll close the session.
Sure, thank you, sir. So on the onset, I would like to personally thank Nav and Abid for a wonderful 90 minutes that I personally relished listening to both of you. It has been thoroughly inspiring. And as Nav, you rightly said, every time you get to interact with someone um, as fiery as you people, you yourself go back all fired up, right? So that's how I'm feeling right now. There are a couple of questions which are there in the chat box, but I think they will get answered as I try to summarize this session. What were my key takeaways out of it? It was all about the individual. We all know entrepreneurs themselves are a very special breed, because when others say problems, they see opportunities, right? Um, but then I feel that social entrepreneurs push the bar a little bit higher, because while an entrepreneur would generate consumer insights. Okay, um, the social entrepreneur generates community insights, and there is a very fine line between the two, where I feel, and that element is of compassion. Okay, which probably would have pushed Naf to come out from the luxuries of his I would say a very settled life in London to a remote village in Pondicherry, which would have not been easy, so to say, right? And for Abid, he said, I've grown up seeing conflict around me, right? Um, but for the last 90 minutes, I've been consciously trying to hunt for an element of negativity within both of them. I couldn't find any, and I think that is what makes a social entrepreneur very special. I mean, there is a very and this is one of the leadership qualities, as one of the participant is asking, and probably this is what keeps them going. As there is another question as to how do you keep on going, what are the challenges you faced when you started your organizations, and how do you overcome them. I think all of that becomes irrelevant if you have the right attitude and the right mindset, which both these individuals personify. I would say, if I have to distill my entire thoughts very quickly into one phrase, I think one phrase is we all would have been very familiar with. It says the fortune at the bottom of the pyramid, right? I think everybody has heard this phrase. I would say in this case, it was the good fortune of the bottom of the pyramid that they had people like Nav and Abid looking out for them. So thank you so much, both Nav and Abid. It was genuinely my personal pleasure to interact with you both. I wish you all the very best for your journey, and I hope to meet you in person anytime soon that's possible. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
So with this, I think we should close the session. And I also really relish interacting with you, understanding you better, and deliberately I started asking the personal question only towards the end. In fact, I asked only one question, personal question, and I was curious to know the process. Okay, the way you solve the problem, the way you thought through. As Sujay correctly summed it up and say the positive hope. I put in a phrase to positive hope, and bringing this positive hope discourse to drive the whole process of innovation, product development, market built up. I think that's the key. That's the key. And Sujay has very nicely summed it up. So with this, we'll close the session, and we thank SBI Foundation. Of course, Mrs. Manjula, she has been actively participating in all the sessions. She has been here
also. A word from her also.
Yeah, and the opening remarks were quite inspiring. And of course, Anuj is the anchor person. He's the center of gravity who pulls everybody together. Okay, all of us. Okay, so Anuj ably pulls up everyone. Okay, so to create this wonderful session for all of us. So with this, shall we close the session, Anuj and Mrs. Manjula?
Anuj, you're on mute.
Have Manjula ma'am to kind of give a word of thanks.
Okay.
Yeah, thank you. The entire session was very stimulating, and what really I could tell Suja, my takeaway was the passion which these two youngsters are doing, bringing about a change in their community, the passion and the empathy which they are showing to the community, like what Professor Satyajit has already said. Empathy is a very important quality. So that came through very clearly in your conversations. So it was a great session today, very different from the other ones which we've been having, but excellent. I'm sure the viewers too have taken a lot of inspiration from you both, and SBI Foundation is always there to partner with any kind of an innovative project where we can measure and make a deep impact in the communities that you're serving. Yeah, thank you, and have a great evening.
Thank you all. Thanks, a pleasure to be here.
Thanks. So we close the
Thanks, guys.
session. Thank you. Bye-bye.
Bye.